out if you ignite him. He's a road ahead of full prophecy to be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me, and he gets claws real big, pissed off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score, never getting bored, loves the blood and gore, always wanting more, freedom from the source. They don't really understand until they feel the force departed. If you start shit, you'll be heartless in the darkness, torn apart quick. You left scars ripped, you'll be chewed up and discarded. And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate.
Okay, so I just finished up my deadlift. So I felt like complete crap coming into the gym today. Like, fatigue is really high right now. You know, it kind of makes sense though, because like I basically had my week after my meet where I was kind of just doing like a bodybuilding week of training, and then like another 4 weeks of training. So it's technically like my 5th week of like accumulation volume, like without sort of a pullback with any sort of volume. So this week on my highest intensity week, I'm pulling back 1 set. Obviously all my exercises will keep my intensity high. I found out for me that basically reduces down fatigue a little bit better while keeping me trained, more than just like reducing down volume and intensity at once. So took 595 for my last warm up, and that felt like not the best. So I opted for the low end of my range for set of 4. I basically have set up for RP 8.5 today, 17, I think it's about RP 8. So, you know, happy I did that. Less fatigue, and then did 562 for 1 set out of 6, about RPE 8 still. And again, that's kind of like a shit test, see like what's my top's accurate, and it was. And then I did 1 set with 540 for a set out of 6. Now I just have some accessory work, so I'll show you guys a little bit of that with the voiceover.
Lightning, thunder, pouring weather. Yo, I'm a go-getter, try to do it like me, but I do it better. I got a mind that's clever, the beast inside is competitive as ever. I'm conscious, my subconscious an accomplice to me. I promise the darkness I can honest believe. But don't cross me, I might lose control of the lost beast. He's locked away inside with the key controlled by fight or flight. And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate.
I finished up training about a little bit ago. I had a few calls my clients had to go on, so I couldn't really film too much of it, but honestly, just like recap how I felt like the session went. So like I came into the gym, I felt like pretty crappy. Like I said, like in the gym, I've been feeling a little bit more fatigued this week. Like there's been a few things going on. So number one, I'm trying to bulk still, but I increased my calories by like 200 last week. I actually lost like a pound, like 1.2 pounds, and I noticed it, like how I feel. So I definitely impacted my fatigue and my energy levels and whatnot. I was already so lean. And then I increased my calories again by another 100 after about 5 days of that. And then I also dropped weight still, and I added another 100 calories. Now today I was like 191.8, which is like about like where I usually am at. Like I usually am around like 192. Like the past like 5 days is like 190.8. So yeah, just kind of like feel like my leverages are a little bit different. Like my waist is really small right now, which is, you know, it's cool because like I have never had this small of a waist being, you know, this being this heavy, so that's a good sign that, I built a lot of muscle and I'm leaner here, but definitely does affect my leverages and like how I feel in terms of like my general recovery. So overall, like 595 was my warm-up, and I was like, that felt worse than I wanted to, so I was like, I'm going to take the bottom end of my range, and it's going to be the interview between 617 and 628 for this week. And it was the right call. I think it'll help manage my fatigue a little bit, especially considering that for the past, like, I basically had a 460 for 5 squat on Monday, which is a PR. I got 352 for 2 on deadlift yesterday. On bench press yesterday, which was also a PR. And then today, another PR. So yeah, just kind of how things go. But really how training goes for me is most of my PRs are like ability PRs. So it's like weight I've done before, but for like the amount of reps, but it's, ideally it's easier the next time I come around and I get it. And it's only like usually around like my week 4s where I might make an absolute PR versus the weight I've ever lifted before. But whenever I am trying to decide am I getting stronger or whatnot, I'm looking for those ability PRs about, is a weight I used to lift at RPE, 8, is it now RPE 7, 7.5, something like that. Like that's progress. That shows that you're actually getting stronger. So yeah, overall, like as long as I just don't get hurt on deadlift, I'm going to be, I would see myself, pulling at least 740 by the end of the year. We'll see what happens though, because especially like as I start, really figure out my surplus and my metabolism, I will probably be able to, really have a big strength gain, like, once I get like true kilos up, in body weight. So I'm excited about that. And like I haven't done anything wrong with like increasing my calories. Basically, I've increased my calories by 200, like then 200 again. And the reality about hard gainers is that sometimes, I would classify this as a little more of a hard gainer, so like I'm more resistant to weight gain and tend to stay leaner a little bit easier. I just fidget more and I move around more. I just fidget more. Like I wake up in my sleep now and it's just like my sheets are like destroyed. I'm like, holy crap! Whereas like when I was like eating like 400 calories less, like my sheets were not as destroyed, and I wasn't getting as warm after I like ate my meals and stuff like that. So your body tends to adapt, and maintenance calories also tends to be a little bit of a range, depending on how adaptable your metabolism is. But like overall, yeah, like training's going well. As long as I just stay healthy, and I can just find that surplus and really like embrace that weight gain, I think I'm gonna have some really good PRs in the near future. So those are just some cool training musings. Alright guys, so here I want to talk about specifically how to find your deadlift starting hip height. Yes, we got a deadlift bar and barbell in my living room in my apartment because I care about helping you guys. Please like the video. So this is something I see people struggle with a lot on deadlifts, is basically understanding how high do I set my hips. I think a lot of times this causes people to do one of two things. Either their hips are a little bit too straight, a little bit bent, or a little like this, and do sort of like a stiff-legged deadlift, where they try to basically push their hips down too much and sort of squat up the weight. And what's going to happen in both of those scenarios is that, number one, in the high hip position, you're not going to be able to really use your quads off the floor as much. You're going to be having your force transfer be compromised, and it could potentially cause some back issues if you have excessive lumbar spine rounding. The second thing with basically having hips a little bit too low, that can cause it basically, you're going to have your chest drop down, and what happens from this position is that you're going to basically have your hips fall and have a lot of wasted energy before the bar even gets moving off the floor. So when we were trying to find starting hip height, what I like to think about, instead of thinking about how high are my hips, is sort of trying to think about finding tension in your posterior chain. So in my glutes, in my hamstrings, and in my back. And basically, how we kind of accomplish that is sort of a bit, there's one thing I always do whenever I'm sitting up. I always, when you first see me put my hips back into a hip hinge, this is basically me finding tension in my hips and in my hamstrings. And then this is basically going to let me know, okay, I have a lot of tension right here. And then all I do is I go straight down from this position. And right here, I still feel that tension in my back, in my glutes, and in my hamstrings. All I do here is push my hips down, and I'm sort of thinking about leg pressing the floor away from me while I'm maintaining that tension. And by doing that, I'm going to basically find my tension in my glutes and in my hamstrings. It's going to allow me to be strong, and it's going to allow me to not have, you know, any sort of force transfer irregularities or not having anything be super consistent. It's the same thing with basically a sumo deadlift. What you would basically find is that people are texting me. This is the life of my coach. But it's going to be basically a similar thing. Right here, I'm doing is I'm basically finding tension in my hips and my hamstrings by going back like this and in my glutes. All I do is I hinge down to the bar. I think I'm pushing my hips back, and I don't want to basically like squat down to the bar. I want to hinge to the bar, maintain that tightness in the hips. All I do, again, is lower down my hips, like press the floor away from me, while maintaining that tension in my hamstrings, in my glutes, and my hips. So that's what I would recommend doing if you're trying to find your starting hip position on a deadlift. Really feel that tension in your hips and your hamstrings and in your glutes. And basically all from there is just to leg press the floor away from you while you are maintaining that tension in your hips and your hamstrings. Now, if you find that you are sort of trying to scoop your hips, which is going to be when people they try to get like their hips like too close to the bar, you find you don't really feel that much tension in your hamstrings. And you're going to find it like, you know, you're going to start to see like your back rounding a little bit more, going like this. Your hips are also going to drift back. You shouldn't be doing that. Basically, like a scooped hip position would be like, instead of me keeping my wedge here and then keeping my tension in the hamstrings, having this same angle, you kind of see like the distance between my ribs and my hips is maintained. It will look kind of like this. We go down, trying to like tuck my pelvis under, trying to get my hips closer to the bar. And this is basically sacrificing lots of mechanical tension between your hips and your hamstrings, and is going to basically reduce down like the amount of total force output you could have because you're not in basically a good joint angle to transmit force. So again, hinge down to the bar the right way. Again, feel the tension in your hips and hamstrings and go down. Keep that wedge, keep that distance between your ribs and your hips. If you feel yourself losing the distance between your ribs and your hips, you know, you're kind of tucking under, you know, you sort of will also lose and feeling the tension in your hamstring will sort of shift onto your back. Most of it should really feel, prior to actually like pressing the floor, you should not feel much tension in your back. Your back is basically a stabilizer to help keep the bar close to your body. That's really it. So if you're feeling like your back starting that transfer as you're getting in position, you are not wedging properly, you're not setting your hips down properly, etc. So hopefully this is helping. If you guys have any questions, just let me know.